Once you look at life completely through different angles, you can say that, I am a function of all these things. It is not one string that I need to pull out. Why are we forcing it? Right? Why are we like, I want it right now? Take that step, take that step, take that step. Be patient, and it is right there. According to me, wellness is not a six pack. Right? Wellness is having the energy after a long day of work to come back and sit and play with your child.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Wellness is the ability after a long day to come back and sit and talk to that friend of yours who's probably passing through a breakup. And having that energy. Wellness is coming home and then opening your fridge and not reaching for that cake, but probably for that salad or for that meal that you put inside. That is wellness. Many years ago, before COVID happened, I used to tell people that I believe the next pandemic is going to be loneliness.
So what's up, guys? Welcome back to the FitCru Show, India's favorite wellness podcast. At least I hope it'll turn out to be one. So I'm your host Pratik Kumar, the founder of FitCru, and today we have a very, very, very special guest. Somebody that I have seen training around when I not just started, but when I was in my fitness journey. He has been very impactful in changing a lot of lives. He does very good work for people. He's a habit coach. He's also the founder of Awesome 180. He's written 3 books. He's done around 1200 plus podcast episodes. He's reached Mount Everest base camp from being a very unhealthy, tubby, oversized person to a fit person with six-pack. He's had his own share of struggles. And that's what we want to understand, how he's been able to take those learnings, put it into a book, put it into podcast, learn from people, guide people, help them. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Ashton Doc, the author of this new book called One Habit a Day. Welcome, Ashton Doctor, and it's so good to have you on our show. What's up, Ashton? How are you? Please, can you tell our listeners what is it that you are doing now? What is it that you do, and why do you do it?
Amazing. So I am Ashton. I am a habit coach, right?
Okay.
So I started this whole idea of habit coaching about 8 years ago.
Okay.
So before that, the concept of habit coaching didn't really exist. We had life coaches, we had fitness coaches, we had nutrition coaches. But the funda is that your life is made up of the actions and the thoughts that you have on a daily basis. Now, if we can control those actions and thoughts on a daily basis, we can live far more fulfilling lives. And that is the idea of habit coaching. So 7-8 years ago, I started working with clients. End of that first year, we started the Habit Coach podcast, which by the end of that first year of the podcast was #1 in the health and fitness space in India, and then slowly climbing the charts abroad as well. So that was a huge, big thing. We finished about 1,000 episodes.
1,000 episodes?
1,200 I think we are at now, of the Habit Coach podcast.
Wow.
We've been doing this for a while, and 5 episodes a week, so it was...
Oh, you are talking quite a bit to people.
Because the whole thing is that the more information that you can get out there, and how do you implement that information, right?
Yeah.
So at the start of this year, I published my first book, which was called Change Your Habits, Change Your Life.
The red book.
The red colored book. So this was created so that people understand what are the steps needed for changing your habits, right? So what are the golden rules of habit change? How do you create intention? How do you not use motivation? All these are very important things to use. Then the same publisher said, Ashton, why don't you write a book for children? So then we wrote a book for children called The Book of Good Habits for Children. So this is between the ages of 6 to 9, and 8 habits for children to help develop them and grow them.
And what age group are you targeting for that? Like, as in, because I have a 4-year-old son, and I really want him to pick up some good habits.
Oh, please get it. It's a 6 to 9.
Okay.
You can start reading it to a 4-year-old. I think it's very easy to understand. But I think that at that 6 to 9, they understand the reason why they're doing it. Till then it is following what your parents are doing.
Yeah.
After that, there's a little bit more of questioning why. Yeah. That stage starts.
Yeah.
So I think 6 to 9 is a great time for teaching habits. And then as of yesterday, we launched the new book, which is called One Habit a Day. So the book is basically 31 episodes of the podcast that are turned into a workbook. So you can actually now implement what I was talking about
So it's
earlier
an action
on.
in this book.
So it's an action-oriented
Lovely.
book. So that is where, in the scheme of things, we're doing stuff. We're obviously working with lots of corporates on culture change and working on habits. But that's where everything else currently is.
So you said that, okay, 5 years back, you were contemplating that, there are fitness coaches, now nutrition coaches, lifestyle coaches. What about your fitness? Because I know that 4 5 years back when I used to work out at a different gym, I used to always see you happy guy working out in the morning, doing yoga, headstands, handstands, with a six pack, doing your weight training, calisthenics, like quite a bit. And I mean, we didn't know each other, but I knew of you, and at the same time, I saw that okay, you had a very good vibe to what you were doing. You seem like a very fit guy, obviously, and my perception of you was that okay, this guy is probably a, a coach, a fitness coach. But how has your fitness journey been? Because everybody who is fit, like who I have come across and has somewhat of a six pack kind of physique or decent aesthetic sound physique, has had their own struggle.
There's a story behind it, right?
Absolutely, and a good one.
I think that's a good one. Huh? Every
Yeah.
six pack has a story. So one fine day, I was getting ready for work and I collapsed on the floor. Now this is at the age of 31. So
Oh.
I was nice and tubby. I was like this fat. I was probably 90 something. Skin looking dull, grey, lots of sugar in the diet, so you can imagine what the face
Puffiness,
looked
yeah.
like, puffiness. And I had not slept for probably 2 days because I was working to finish a presentation. Collapsed on the floor. Got up, and this is what I tell people, it's so interesting how our mind works. Got up, there's one side of me that was saying, oh God, Ashton, you're going to die. Right? And there's another side that was saying that, Ashton, congratulations, you actually worked so hard that you collapsed. And our minds have been trained in this way. This whole go hard, go home.
Yeah.
Go hard or go home, rather.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's silly. It's not necessary. And that's the mindset that we very often come with. Anyway, so then I said that I was a typical type A person, right? So I said that what is the hardest goal I can give myself? I can't live like this anymore. I will get a six pack. So that was the six pack origin story. Then I realized that I couldn't climb a flight of
I
stairs.
like how you put that six pack origins.
Six pack origin. Six pack origins, every six pack has a story. So at that point in time, I couldn't climb a flight of stairs, right?
Okay.
I couldn't do a wall sit or a plank or anything like that. So back pains were a regular part of life. Every day I would have a back pain of some sort or the other. The first few exercise programs that I picked up was Insanity, Jillian's Measures 6-week six-pack, and P90X, which are all online,
Intense. All out.
all 1 hour kind of workouts, and I will do this, and I will do that. And I realized beyond 5 minutes, I was passing out on the floor, collapsing, panting, and there was no way I could finish a 1 hour program. And you know what the initial thing is, right? When this happens, you give up.
You feel inadequate. You feel that
You feel
okay, this is
inadequate, I
not
can't
my
do
cup of
this.
tea.
What is the point of doing this, right? And then you try and you push yourself and then you give up. Till I discovered Tabata workouts.
20 minutes.
4 minutes.
Okay.
4-minute Tabata workouts. Say 4 minutes I can do. And Tabata workouts are easy to scale, right? You're doing it to your max capacity.
Yeah.
Now, your max capacity different from mine, different from his. So as a result, you can scale it up slowly. 4 minutes I can do. So Tabata workout started. Then there was this one fitness app called the 7-minute scientific workout. I talked about many 10, 12 years ago, right? So I started doing that. 7 minutes, I can manage. Slowly, I started seeing an improvement taking place in my body. I realized I was getting a little bit fitter. Then I took a pull-up bar and I put it up in my room. And this was around the time when Gajini had come out. Remember Gajini?
Yeah.
Right?
Amir
So
Khan.
we had Amir Khan doing pull-ups and all of that in the video. And on Tata Sky, there was a special interview series that had happened with Amir Khan on Gajini on how he managed to get that body and do
I
pull-ups.
remember seeing that entire thing at least 5-6 times.
Yeah, so many learnings from it.
Yeah.
One of the learnings I picked up was, he said every time I passed by the pull-up bar, I would do as many pull-ups as I could. So I said, this is my new
Seems
thing.
doable, yeah.
Right? So I put a pull-up bar. Every time I walked into the room, did a pull-up. I didn't do pull-up. I hung
Attempted.
All of that happened. And then within a month or two, slowly I could start,
The chin-ups.
little started happening. Then the jumping pull-ups started happening, right? The eccentric pull-ups. So you slowly start realizing how well your body can adapt and change.
But you used habits. From collapsing on the floor to climbing Everest.
Base camp.
Yeah, but base camp is a lot of people are not able to do base camp. A guy who would collapse on the floor is able to do summit, like base camp. Like that's fucking phenomenal, right? How was that entire experience? Because when you reach base camp, like I'm almost getting goosebumps right now, and I have not even, I can't even fathom how it would be. But for a guy who was having that epiphany or that moment where one side is like, hey Ashton, you're about to die, hey Ashton, you know what, you've pushed yourself to the limit, and then seeing yourself at base camp, how did you manage to do that?
Walking up to base camp, I had tears in my eyes because at that point in time, it was the hardest thing that I had done. Right? I had not even thought I would be able to do it. So, when I was going on this transformation journey, I gave myself 3 goals for that particular year. So, at that point in time, I used to believe a lot in New Year resolutions. So, my New Year resolutions were 3 things. One, the first one was to fail at everything. So, I gave myself permission to fail and try new things. Because I realized that my life so far was built on trying to succeed. And as a result, I was still in the same ecosystem. I was not pushing myself outside it. So this gave me the permission to fail and try new things. The second resolution was to do all those, you should not be doing these things. So every time, parents say, you should not be doing this. Friends say, you should not be doing this. Do it. See what happens. Right? And as a result, again, thrown out of your comfort zone.
As long as it's not morally incorrect, I don't know.
Morally, illegal,
Yeah.
those things are out.
Okay.
But simple things like, so as a result, I would come home at 4 o'clock after a party. Earlier on, I would be home at 11 or 1 or 2. Some people would be like, no, let's go to this after party. Normal mind would say, Ashley, you shouldn't be doing this. Go for it. And as a result, I met the most interesting people, right? Life grew and changed differently, right? Don't take part in one Sangeet thing because you don't know how to dance. Do it, see what happens, right? So all these kinds of little thoughts that hold you back, just do them. And then the third resolution was get a six pack. So these were the 3 resolutions for at that time. So anything that fit into these 3, I was going to do.
Lovely.
And the Everest Base Camp thing happened while I was probably halfway through this whole fitness journey. So I was better than what I was collapsing on the floor. I had started doing Athlean X. Are you familiar with Athlean X?
No.
He's like the original guru of YouTube fitness content. So his whole funda was how do you bring science back into fitness and exercise. So athletic lean.
Athlean
X, right? And Athlean X was what I discovered when I started my fitness journey after that whole 7-minute workout and
after the Tabatas.
And I binged watched his videos one entire night. Like, what is the role of this? How does this mechanics work? It just completely spoke to my inner engineer at that point of time.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it. So I immediately bought his program, started doing it, and that was what probably you saw me doing in the gym as well. And it was absolutely fantastic. So I started doing Athlean X. So there was obviously a change. I was at a wedding, and at this wedding, one random guy comes up to me and says, Ashton, what is the plan for this year? And I said, I'm climbing Kilimanjaro. Why? Because I read in a book that this guy called Tony Hesh, who was passing through a difficult time in his life, climbed Kilimanjaro and had this epiphany on life. So I said, I will also get epiphany on life. I will also climb
Kilimanjaro. Epiphany the Mount Everest.
Right? So Kilimanjaro was where my mind was at. So this guy says, perfect, talk to this girl, she just climbed Kilimanjaro, a wedding, so random person.
Are you fucking serious?
So I was like, okay, went and spoke to her. She said, I didn't climb, my husband did, but in the next 2 months, in the next 2 weeks, we are climbing Everest Base Camp. Would you like to come? So now it fit into all 3. It will help me with six pack. It is something that I should not be doing. And I'm going to definitely fail at it. 100% sign me up. So it was one of the fastest decisions of my life. I looked back at my dad and I said, I'm not going to be here for year ending for our business. Is that fine? He said, go for it. Went. So
in 2 weeks you trained to do base?
In 2 weeks, no, I didn't have trek. I'd never trekked in my life. So I first had to buy trekking shoes. So I bought trekking shoes, wore them to all my meetings. Every time I had to go meet somebody for dinner, I walked to dinner, walked back to try and train and break in those shoes. And 2 weeks later, I was on my way to Kathmandu with a suitcase and no trekking clothes because Decathlon didn't exist at that point of time. And bought all my clothes that night. Next morning on a flight to Lukla, which is the start for Everest. And it was just so many learnings on life in that period of 14 days, right? You start off by, I'll tell you two, three of them, and they also relate to the habits and the journeys that people are on. I think this day 3 or day 4, the atmosphere becomes lighter and lighter. It becomes harder to breathe, right? So now you're getting tired just
Very
walking, standing, etc.
Talking also becomes
Talking,
breathless.
and it's very pretty. So matlab, you first realize that it's really beautiful. So you're in this gorgeous environment and you're panting. And we started walking. So we started off, I think, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were 6, 7 in the morning. We were walking. By around 11:30, 12, now we are tired, we are hungry, cranky. There's nothing around. There's nothing to do. So Samir, now very close friend, that time the person who was leading the expedition, comes up, puts his hand around my shoulder and says, Ashton, 3 mountains away. He points at one small little roof that you can see. You know those blue roofs?
The
plastic.
one that when you were kids you would draw.
Correct,
like,
exactly. Right? You see that there? That is lunch. And I'm like, every single gali that can come to your mind came to my mind. I was like, oh God. And then you realize that all you had to do was one step. And soon you will have reached. And that was the learning. And you enter that room and you're like, how did that happen? Right? Because you see that goal as being so mind-blowingly far away. But if you just focus on the first few steps that you take and the next few steps that you take and the next few steps, you eventually reach there. And that is the way to start thinking about all the transformation that we're doing in our life. Why are we forcing it? Right? Why are we like, I want it right now? Take that step. Be patient, and it is right there. Right? All these are such important learnings that you have to look around in life and you pick up. So for me, Everest Base Camp was this idea saying that, I could do this. And I came back and my mind changed. There was a big one, and especially in the first book, we talk about intention setting. And we can talk about it when we talk about motivation. But my intention changed. All this while it was get a six-pack as the intention, aesthetic. Now the intention changed to I never want to be scared of my body again. Anything that happens, my body should be able to handle. Right? If a fire is burning, I have to hang on to a helicopter while we're getting out of it. Arnold Schwarzenegger saying get into the chopper and all of that.
You have visualized each and every scenario that is possible.
Should be possible to do. Why should you be scared to do it?
Yeah.
People are scared to lift up a bag and put it in the overhead compartment of an aircraft. Right? That means that there is so much potential in you that you're not using. So never be scared of your body again was my then intention onwards.
So like what is your style of practice? Like if you're working on habits, you work on what kind of habits do you work on?
So the way to think about it is what is your intention at this point of time in life?
Wow.
Right? If you don't know what it is that you want, then you're just like, I saw this. This sounds like a good thing, I'll try. This sounds like a good thing. I saw this on the podcast, I'll try it out. And it's what I call shiny object syndrome, right? We keep chasing shiny objects. But if you know what it is that you want from life, you can have a far more directed approach.
A focused approach.
So the problem is with habits is that we all got habits. Our entire life is nothing but a set of habits, but it's a set of unconscious habits. It's a set of habits that we didn't choose. It's a set of habits that we picked up either from our parents or from our friends or from social media, right?
But this thing that you just said is stuck with me. The shiny object syndrome it's so relevant right now in today's time of age. Like today, everybody is just chasing something or the other that they saw. Somebody's put up flashes of some experience on social media, and now I'm chasing that.
Marathon running happened like this, na? My neighbor's doing marathon, I'll also do marathon.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do marathon? नहीं सब लोग कर रहे हैं.
Tata marathon chalo, half marathon chalo. This.
Tata marathon chalo, फिर physiotherapy chalo.
Yeah.
So it's that's like every single physiotherapist I've had on the podcast, and I think you will also agree with this with the physiotherapists that you've had on the podcast. Best time of theirs is post the marathon.
Yeah.
This is the peak type of business.
Because New Year ho gaya, New Me resolution hua. People have like gone, killed it at the gym, done their marathon. After that, they are still going to the gym, breaking themselves, not eating, not resting. March tak na sab toote poote pahunch jate hain. Yeah.
You know what you said is so important. we don't realize that all the effort comes only from the rest, right? All the effort that we're putting in, the fruit comes only through rest.
Yeah.
If you're not resting, you're not growing. If you're not resting, you're not becoming stronger. You have to put in that rest. It's so critical.
Yeah, as in I used to work out like 10 or 12 times a week.
Wow.
Like that was my protocol. I read about Hrithik Roshan in Krish when I was in just finished engineering college, and I saw that he was training in the morning, training at night, no carbs, just brown rice, some potatoes, lot of protein, lot of chicken, beef, and all that jazz. Like ये follow करते, simple तो है, ये protocol follow करेंगे हो जाएगा.
क्या हुआ?
Little did I know that Hrithik Roshan was also aided with a lot of other things. 3 or 4 discs out. Cervical issues, frozen shoulder. Aesthetically, yes. I mean, I was looking, I had reached. Like I had reached. I was shredded, maybe 7%, 8% body fat, lean, probably half this size, super ripped. As soon as I did a photo shoot, got good pictures, all of that. After the photo shoot, I ate chicken chili. Stomach upset, went to the washroom, threw up, pooped, all of that. Within 3 or 4 days, almost hospitalized because my back was fucked.
Wow.
Like, obviously, you're completely depleted, not rested. 12 to 14 workouts in a week, like morning, evening for 3 months straight. Yes, body changed, mind fucked. Like, I might be physically looking my strongest. Mentally, I was my weakest. Physically, I was my weakest. And I realized that what I have put myself through, I did not deserve it. Like this was jail, this was torture. And for what? For that one picture that's not even featured anywhere, and I've not made any money or any benefit. But the learnings, yes, of course. But yeah, it was just so useless. That entire effort. And I'm still recovering from it.
Yeah.
It's not like I've recovered completely from it. I still, at least my relationship with food is much better.
What's your relationship with aesthetics now?
I really don't care. I really don't care. Like, first it was, initially when I started this fitness business, I was like, you know what, I have to follow the older sibling method that if I look fit, everybody's going to come to me for advice. And then I was like, you know what, then I'm not advocating the thing that I actually believe in if I start doing that. Obviously, I'm not going to get unfit. I'm not going to roam around with a tummy. But at the same time, I am not going to put in that effort just so that I get more clients and people believe in what I'm saying. People will believe me because of my experiences. I am a dad. I have a son. I have a family. I have a business. I have employees. I have a team. I'm trying to take care of my health. I go through a lot of turmoil, a lot of stress. I deal with quite a bit. And I try to stay fit. And I try to help others stay fit. That's my life. So if there might be times in a year where I will look unfit, it's fine. There might be times in the year where I might take my shirt off at a beach, which I was not comfortable when I was hefty, and I might not have abs. I might have man boobs. I might have side fat, and I'm okay with it. It's taken quite a bit, like for me to say this to you, because I'm sure you will also relate, because there are these smaller instances that you don't actually pay attention to, but these are constantly going on in your head, right? And once you don't have to deal with it, you're like, you know, that was so insignificant. That's so shallow of me to give that thing so much importance. So
my favorite thing is when people say, "Where are your six pack?" Goes, "Six pack aate hain, six pack jate hain." It's like one.
Yeah, it's literally that. Like
it's
there
like
are days
you go mad if you try and keep it every day.
But there are days where you will wake up and you will lift your t-shirt. Like today, I will lifted my t-shirt, I have a full set of abs, like I'm shredded, really nice. After my first meal, I'll do the same thing. I'm like, kahan gaya? So and that's fine. Like that's how it is. That's how the body functions. Now I'm dealing with so many clients who will weigh themselves today and they'll be like, weight thoda kam hua hai, kal weigh karenge, weight thoda zyada ho gaya, oh I've gained weight. It's like we put our attention on the wrong things.
Years ago, I made this post on how to lose 2 kilos in one day. Because that basically binged ate lots of alcohol, etc. Full body was full of water weight. I was 2 kilos high. I said, hey, good opportunity. showed fasted, sauna, wana. At the end of the day, I showed them how 2 kilos you can drop and why this is not a reliable way of measuring yourself.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
Yeah. But tell me, like this was my journey. But have you ever come across any client's journey that you've coached, which is worth sharing? You don't need to name names, but like which has like really impacted you?
I think the ones that really impact me are the ones where the change that they made for themselves has created a change for the people around them and their family. So what I mean by this is that they came with one particular goal in mind, and then they suddenly, maybe let's say an aesthetic goal or a fitness goal, right? But they suddenly realized that to get this fitness goal, all these other aspects of my life have to change, right? I am unnecessarily stressing about work. Can I deal with work a little bit better? Right? Once you look at life completely through different angles, you can say that I am a function of all these things. It
The
is
different
not
lens.
one string that I need to pull out.
Yeah.
I need to pull out maybe little bit of all these things. And then my favorite is when like their wives message me or saying that I don't know what you did to him, but he's so much nicer. Somebody's mother will message me saying that, oh, I never knew this was possible with him, but thank you so much. Like there's so much peace in the house now. Because also what we don't realize is that when we are unfit, when we're eating poorly, our energy levels are low. When our energy levels are low, we are not the most pleasant people to be around.
Yeah.
Right? Hurt people, we know that.
Yeah.
But people who are constantly stressed, constantly in the state of fight or flight, constantly in low energy, are mean people.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have the ability to deal with other people's problems. But when the energy goes up, when you start feeling lighter, you already can take so much from people.
Yeah.
You become a better person. You know this, when you eat kachra and your stomach is feeling bad, you're irritable.
Yeah.
When you're in nice and fasted state,
Focused, energetic,
all
loving.
of that comes in.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is how do we get into that state more than it. So for me, it is not necessarily about, they might have come to me with an aesthetic goal, and then they realize halfway down the line the intention actually wasn't that aesthetic goal.
Yeah.
Right? It was something completely different. And that aha moment happened and life changed. So for me, that journey, I think, is something that really, energizes me.
And so, what is your latest book about now?
So the book, One Habit a Day, so the
Yeah.
whole idea is how do we understand one principle? So the whole book is about mental wellness, mental habits, right? And how do we start changing this part of our life?
How much of that impacts your life?
So the way to think about it is that all habits are either thoughts or actions that are repeated at a set frequency. Thoughts or actions repeated at a set frequency are what I call habits. Normally we think about habits as what? Tying your shoelace, going to the gym, actions. But if you wake up in the morning and the first thought that you have is life sucks, right? And every morning you wake up saying life sucks, life sucks, life sucks. What's going to happen?
It's embedded, and that's what happens. That's your reality then.
Life is going to suck.
Yeah.
Correct? So as a result, if we can start changing this thinking process, we can start changing the way that we show up in life, we can change the way that our life exists. So the entire book is about changing this. Can you change the way that you judge people? So judgment. Can you start making happiness a habit? People say happiness is an outcome. No, happiness is a habit.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. What's interesting is the word happiness comes from the word hap, which means by chance. It's a haphazard.
Yeah.
Right? By chance. That means people originally thought that being happy was a chance, was a moment of fate. It was luck. But imagine if you can create your own luck. And we do this by identifying what are the sources of negativity and the negative thoughts in our life, reducing that, and consciously creating sources of positivity in our life. Right? A simple thing that you can do right now is just go through your entire, the people that you follow on Instagram, delete anyone that makes you feel FOMO. Delete anyone that makes you feel less than. Delete anyone that makes you feel sad. You don't need that in your life. And you start following people that make you feel happier, better, more positive. And you will see just with that change, a dramatic difference in your life. So it's full of these small habits. There's one chapter called "Are you a potato or are you an egg?" Okay, so there's a lovely idea behind this, which is that you put a potato and you put an egg in boiling water, and they both come out different. A potato comes out soft,
Softer and
an
this
egg comes out harder.
Okay.
Right? Are you a potato? Are you an egg? What is the situation around you doing to you? Right? Is it destroying you and making you completely mashable, or is it making you more resilient to life? You can choose how you see the world around you and how that situation affects you. So identify what your boiling water is and see how you're going to react to it and grow from it. Right? So there's full of these little ideas that you can start working on now to make those changes.
Wow. That line just stuck with me. Are you a potato? Are you an egg with boiling water?
Huh?
Yeah, it's so true. So like while you're doing this, writing books, doing your podcasts, and obviously chasing your own fitness goals, doesn't it get like extremely stressful for you? Isn't this journey uh, kind of a lonely journey? It must be, right?
It's lonely and then it's filled with love. When it's lonely and then it's filled with love. When
How do
it's
you manage
lonely and
that
it's filled with
entire
love.
sinusoidal wave where you're like constantly dealing with these mixed emotions, where you're like, you're alone doing your thing, and then when you're out there presenting, then you have to like obviously present it, and it is taken well with the people that respect you, love you, adore you, and they shower you with all the love that's around. But then obviously there are those moments.
Yeah,
I have been through that. That's why I
absolutely.
can relate to it. How do you deal with that?
So the idea is not to push yourself and realize when these things are happening. Okay, so the book was launched yesterday. So yesterday we had a huge launch event at Crossroads in Bombay, and people from IVM, Pratilipi, Westland were there, and we had about 120, 150 people in the audience. We had set only 50 chairs, it was packed. And I was standing on stage and I was looking out and I was just filled with love, right? I was just like, my God, so many people have come.
Euphoria.
It was amazing. This morning I wake up and I'm just dead tired, right? But 7 o'clock I had to go to the gym. So I was dead tired. Okay, fine. I was like, I will put on my shoes, wash shoes, went to the gym. I sat down, wear my gym shoes, and I was like, okay, I'll start warming up. But the body
Supporting.
was not ready. So I spoke to him. I said, listen, dude, I'm here. In my mind, I know I have made the effort, but I know my body is telling me don't do this right now. Right? So I didn't do this right now. I came back home, unpacked a new coffee machine that we bought, tried making espresso shots, which were complete disasters, and then finished working on a new podcast for that's coming out. And then I came here for this. I realized that my body was mentally fine, physically drained. Right? So you realize which energy system is working at this point of time. So we have 5 energy systems in our body.
Okay.
Physical energy, which means that
The ability to do physical things.
right? You know this. After a workout, you probably feel a little bit more physical energy. When you're sitting down watching TV, you feel low physical energy. So it's counterintuitive sometimes. Then we have emotional energy. So sitting down and arguing with people drains emotional energy. Sitting down having meaningful conversations like this increases emotional energy. We have intellectual energy. Intellectual energy is your energy for
learning things,
like doing probably Excel sheets reduces it. doing things that are intellectually stimulating increases it. Sorry, not 5-4 systems. And then we have spiritual energy.
Okay.
Right? So you can say PIES, PIES. So physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual. Spiritual energy is the energy that makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
Right? Like the question that you're asking. When you feel purpose, you feel alive. So it is not necessarily God and religion, but it is that feeling of aliveness, feeling of community. When you feel you're alone, your spiritual energy drops. That is what you're feeling. Right? When you're like saying this is a lonely journey, you're saying that I'm feeling like I am just either a cog in the wheel or I am not loved, but when you suddenly come out, what you feel is that spiritual energy, that oneness that you create.
Yeah.
Can you create that oneness through life?
Okay.
Through everyday things.
Yeah.
Why do people get pets? Oneness. Why do people have children? Oneness. Right? So you use these as the guides for your spiritual energy. You use these as that purpose that you have in it. Many years ago, before COVID happened, I used to tell people that I believe the next pandemic is going to be loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because loneliness completely saps the spiritual energy from you. Yeah. So if you understand these energy systems, you know which one is low, which one is high, and which one to play with, and which one not to push at each point of time.
And do you think that we can, like, I don't want to use the word manipulate, but we can navigate through these energy systems to enhance our life.
Absolutely.
And we can use it to improve our mental health without the dependency. I mean, I don't know how severe the case could be, but just by practicing simple habits, we can avoid medication.
Medication is a separate topic because you have to see medication in multiple ways. So chronic medication, yes. Acute medication, no. You have a bacterial infection, please use medication.
Yeah.
Right? Like don't die
Yeah.
from that bacterial infection. Not worth it. Chronic issues that are there. Chronic issues means lifestyle issues.
Yeah.
Obviously that is dealt with habits, with wellness.
Yeah, that's what I
ideas.
was talking
Right?
about. Yeah.
So those are the things that you think. But you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because not all medication is bad.
Yeah.
Right? You have to understand the purpose of it. So I do this workshop for people on wellness habits.
Okay.
And I start the wellness habit by talking about, according to me, wellness is not a six pack. Right? Wellness is having the energy after a long day of work to come back and sit and play with your child.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Wellness is the ability after a long day to come back and sit and talk to that friend of yours who's probably passing through a breakup.
Yeah.
And having that energy. Wellness is coming home and then opening your fridge and not reaching for that cake, but probably for that salad or for that meal that you put inside. That is wellness. And to get wellness, you identify these four systems, these four energy systems, PIES, and then you add them into your daily life. You figure out which energy is highest at which point of time. There are some people whose physical energy is highest in the morning. There are some people whose physical energy is highest in the afternoon or evening.
Yeah.
Right? So you figure out where it is in you. For me, I love doing my creative work right in the morning. Right? It's when I feel the most intellectually stimulated and alive. I do all my meetings post lunch because that's when I feel my intellectual energy low. So speaking to people increases it. Right? So that's how I plan my day, and that's how you should schedule your energy. So I keep telling people when we are doing workshops or corporates, right? Don't schedule your day according to to-do tasks. Schedule your day according to the energy that you have. Right? So figure out when this task would be perfect for you and then schedule your day according to it.
Wow. That will just optimize your day.
Completely.
Because then you wouldn't procrastinate anymore, right? You wouldn't delay things for.
You do things that feel good at that point of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why do we procrastinate? Because I don't have the energy to do this right now.
Absolutely.
But you had the energy earlier. Imagine if you had done that earlier and then use this time for something else. All your meetings, you don't necessarily need that much energy for, and obviously there's somebody else in the room, so you're not going to fall asleep. So you can use that post-lunch slump for your meetings instead of using it for Excel sheet work, which is definitely going to make you fall asleep.
What else? So what's next on your task list now?
So right now, like I was telling you, probably creating 2 new business avenues for the habit coaching business. A large focus now is on understanding corporate workshops. So I'm getting invited to a lot of speaking engagements.
Okay.
So every week I'm doing about 5 speaking engagements for corporates, for different associations, etc. Because they are understanding the importance of how habits can make a difference in whatever it is that they're doing.
Okay.
Right. So we spoke at a coaching conclave earlier on. Now we're doing stuff for understanding how culture change in companies is actually a function of the habits that we create in the company. So figuring out how do we create culture change in companies. So that is the next.
Wow, that sounds
Direction.
like a mammoth task.
Yeah.
But tell me, like, overall, when you're going and speaking to these corporates and there's this organization of maybe 50 or 100 people.
540.
Sorry?
540, 700, 800.
Acha, okay.
Like, it's so interesting talking to those crowds, that size of crowd, and then 20 people. Right?
Yeah.
It's across the board.
Because how, like, I'm just trying to think, like, okay, you want to deal with these 4 energy systems. And there is going to be a plethora, like so many vast different upbringings, different communities, different religions, different thought processes, egos, confidence, like all of that is going to be so diverse. How do you generalize that entire topic?
So instead of generalizing, you universalize it. Okay, so what does that mean is that you first identify what is the humanness in everyone. Right? What is that one thing that makes us human? Right? One big aspect, I want to be liked by people. Right? Something that makes us human. Another aspect is that I want to make my life as easy as possible. Like
Peace.
life is already a struggle, right?
Yeah.
So these are universal principles
Humanity.
being human. Um, how can I showcase those? How can I help people with those? So you identify 2 or 3 such in each context that you're having, and then you discuss these, and then you basically make a connect. I remember I was in Sri Lanka 2-3 weeks ago. I was giving a talk to 120 CEOs of the top companies in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
What was the topic? What are your future leaders of your businesses going to be like? Okay. So one person came and spoke about millennials. I came and spoke about Gen Z. And before the thing, everyone came up to me and said, "We're dying to understand what your talk is about because we don't know what to do with our Gen Z employees."
Kids. Acha, employees. Okay.
Employees.
Okay.
Don't know what to do with Gen Z employees. I don't know how to deal with them. Everything I say seems to be wrong. Correct? So I was like, don't worry. And we had that conversation. But what was important was the universality of that one thought. Why is everyone struggling?
Yeah.
And I realized that it's not a communication issue that's there. It's an issue of habits. Gen Z's habits are completely different from the habits of
The millennials
previous-
and millennials are previous, yeah.
and the previous generation.
Correct.
Because
The 90s.
we learned technology. Gen Z was born with technology. So they don't know a life without it. Right? I know a life without technology. I know that I had to learn, you have to do this. When the first time a mouse came into my house, we did this and it moved on the screen. It was like mind blowing.
roller ball of the
roller
mouse.
ball, you had to come clean out and all of those
Oh,
things that had to
fuck.
happen. Then the laser balls. But like you suddenly realize that they had not gone through any of this.
Yeah.
For them, communication through WhatsApp, Snapchat is the
Touch
most
screen was so.
is the most natural thing.
Yeah.
Right? They've never seen button phones. So as a result, it's not that we are, trying to talk to them on a landline and they are talking to us on Snapchat. Their minds are just completely different. We have to learn how to
Communicate on
understand
that.
those habits. And if you understand those habits, make a change. So the whole keynote address to these 120 CEOs was about Gen Z and how do you understand it. And I was mobbed by these CEOs afterwards saying that in this 45-minute session, I have both understood my employees and my son. Right? And they went back, they wrote emails to me saying that I've started implementing this and I'm already seeing a change in the way that people are behaving. But it is understanding and seeing life from a different perspective that gives you this aha moment on changing.
Yeah. So we'll move on to our next section, last section. So this is like a fun element, and like I told you, this is the intent why I started this. It's about adversity. We've got some questions that I've got printed out. Now, yes, we had a free flowing conversation, but at the same time, I've put some questions. Now, this is what I wanted to call this podcast first. It's called Struggle and Strength. I told you about it, right? Yeah. But my marketing team was like, नहीं ये नाम अच्छा नहीं है. So I was like, ठीक है, तुमको अच्छा नहीं लगा, मैं फिर भी करेगा. Because I'm stubborn. So I put this small section at the end of it where I put certain questions which are about struggle and which might ask you to reflect on certain incidents in life. Or it could be something as simple as what's your favorite movie. So these are just random questions and I would want you to pick one after the other. We'll do 3 or 4 here.
Why have you cancelled out GLE?
I'm not a designer, so I did what I could do on Canva, and there's no reason for it.
There's no strug in strength.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, fine. I'm trying to
Everything doesn't need to have a meaning
Okay,
in life. Just I thought design अच्छा हो जाएगा, कुछ logo बन जाएगा, तो मैंने try किया. This just because no one supported me in this idea, ना यार.
I'll do it myself.
So this is what I could manage on Canva. I did it myself. So yeah, go ahead, pick any question you want.
It's like tarot.
I hope it causes some kind of reflection like tarot.
How do you nurture your creativity? So creativity is not rapid answer. I can give a long answer. So creativity, the way that I see it, is your ability to connect unrelated ideas together. Okay, so ability to create unrelated ideas together. You learn something here, you learn something here. How can this come together to create something new? And the only way to nurture creativity is 2 steps. 1, learn a lot. So the more information you have, the more things you can connect. And the second is keep free time for your body to process information. which is why the most creative ideas come in the bathroom when we're having a bath, because that's the only time our brain's not working. So as a result,
I'm
get
only winning
lots of-
awards over there in my
Thank you for the shampoo bottle. Right? So the whole idea is get to know lots of things and have free time to connect.
Okay.
How do you stay accountable to your goals and commitments, both to yourself and others? Lovely. So there are 2-3 ways in which you can be accountable. You can be accountable to strangers. Put it up on Instagram saying that for the next 30 days I'm going to be doing no alcohol, like I'm doing right now, zero alcohol for the next 30 days. So then people say I will also join you, etc., etc. Now you're
It's fair to
committed.
assume you're Parsi, right?
Uh-huh.
Bawa not having alcohol for 30 days.
Baba not having alcohol. So a client of mine was doing it, so I said I'll join you.
Okay.
That way. So make strangers your accountability partner. We all have Instagram. You can do this. The second way is to have friends who are accountability partners who can hold you up. Right. So in my business habits, I have a consultant who pulls me up saying, you said you're going to do this, you're not done this. So in that way, you keep yourself honest on what you're doing. Obviously, in the previous book, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life, I talk about tracking habits. So how do you create a habit tracker? And more importantly, how do you get into the habit of tracking your habits? Because you suddenly realize that, bhul gaya, for 1 week, I'm not tracked any of my habits. So,
Yeah.
so you first get into the habit of that.
Go for it. Whichever. You're
All
not-
right. What do you think is the most important factor in maintaining good health?
Good health is very, very like this means holistic, like the entire spectrum of everything. The PIS.
By PIS. So the way to think about health is, are you moving to a state of ease in your body? Okay, let me give you an interesting example. So before you start your yoga practice, the yogis say one small little prayer, right? And one word from that prayer stuck in my head. He says malam shariram or something like that. I'm completely screwing up the Sanskrit part, but they were talking about having a soft body. Now, when we think about fitness and
Aesthetic,
it's all about how like iron my muscles are.
Yeah.
But Patanjali and yoga spoke about having a soft, malleable body. Okay. 2 weeks ago, I was at this retreat in Koh Samui, and I was talking to a Chinese medicine doctor, and he's looking at my body. Why are you so stiff? Your body has to be soft. I want to see soft muscles. So the entire thing was about softness. And that's what I realizing, that our wellness goals are completely skewed. Wellness is a state of ease. I should be feeling so calm and peaceful right now. Right? I should not necessarily be abs contracted. That is not a state of ease. So wellness is, are you constantly conscious about how your body is, and are you moving to a state of ease, or are you constantly on high alert? One habit to do this, constant self check-ins. You got 5 minutes between a meeting. How am I feeling today? How's my mental peace? Am I at
Mind-body
peace?
connection.
How's my soul? Is it calm? How's my body? Is it calm? Is my leg okay? Is my thing? That little awareness makes a big difference in your wellness journey.
Great. Thank you so much, Doc. Like I told you, it's a complete honor for me, like somebody who's done 1200 plus podcasts. And we are at maybe episode 12 right now. So that's why I told you, like
Step by step.
Next step, next
Look
step,
at that.
next step, next step,
Next step.
Yeah. But thank you so much for sharing
My
everything.
pleasure.
And like I said, everybody, whoever is watching this, please go and buy this book ASAP. All right. And also this one thing. So like I just learned this in my last podcast that I shot with one of my friends. At the end of the podcast, we are supposed to tell our audiences that please like, share, view this, because we want to tell our audiences this. But I'm pathetic at that. I don't know how to do that. So I am trying to just slip it into conversation. So guys, please, if you all get the hint, like it, share it, subscribe to this entire podcast.
Yeah, and this is just like the start of our conversation, because you're seeing this for the first time.
Yep.
Reach out to me on Instagram, DM me. Happy to continue this conversation with everybody listening here.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.